Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube and other surrounding areas of the world. Yeah, there she is, 4320. Obviously you've seen it run by now, but I have a major concern with this tractor, and it has nothing to do with the work that I did, because actually the work that I did is used a lot more often than people know about. If you've ever if you're that naive that you think that this type of repair job doesn't take place in today's day and age, you're either a diesel mechanic graduate that would never do such a repair, or you just are a young kid that just got out of diesel mechanic school. But for us older fellas, and I don't consider myself an old fella, but us older fellas that have done things that haven't been quite so, let's say, by the book and have gotten away with it, yeah, of course there's chance of failure when you don't pull the crank and regrind it. But I did my plastic gauge and I was well within tolerance, and you probably couldn't see it from your angle what the crankshaft actually looked like. And those grooves in a crankshaft, for the most part, a couple of you race car guys that do the cross hatches and bearings, you're the guys that I would take my motor to. Thumbs up to you fellas. You know what you're doing. Cross hatches on bearings is probably a yeah, not in the textbook of building engines, but it's an experience kind of thing. Now, I did a 302 Ford years and years and years ago, and when I put the camshaft bearings back into the block, I actually ran a hone over, just quick in and out over the bearings before I dropped that crankshaft in there, because a crankshaft will snap off pretty easy if there's any little bit of binding. So anyways, cross hatches and bearings is not a bad thing to do. But this tractor, I have no way to know what the oil pressure is on this tractor. None whatsoever. The 4320 came through with an idiot light, and the idiot light is obviously not functioning. And it's one of those things that, so what, the idiot light went out. Well, the idiot lost on this one, the idiot being me, because I didn't fix the idiot light. But what I have here will actually give me the pressure, because I have purchased, yes, I have purchased an oil pressure gauge. Now, this is an oil pressure gauge kit. Oops, I'm throwing it around here. And in this kit comes a plastic hose. Well, you already see it on the table there. I'm not a fan of plastic when it comes to lots of heat. I really am not. So I went ahead and I purchased the copper tubing kit, because I know that no matter how hot that freaking tubing gets, it's not going to crack, and I'm not going to dump my engine oil out on the ground. Or worse, you know, I don't know what the worst thing would be, but dumping engine oil out on the ground. How about if you're coming down the road and you're like 20 miles from home and you got engine oil pumping out of the ground? Now, this tractor actually had an oil pressure gauge put on it years ago. My dad did it. When this engine was put in here from the last bullshit that we had on it, this was actually a John Deere engine, so I have faith that the engine was supposed to be a new engine, a new short block, not a reman. So I don't know whether it was or not. But anyhow, with that being said, it was mounted right here on the side. I think it was on the side. Anyway, it was mounted here. Was it mounted there? Yeah, it had to be mounted. It was mounted here. And you know, I think it was. It had to be. There's no other place that it could have been, because when I was a kid, I drove this tractor a lot, and I believe that it was mounted right there. I think there's the scratches from it. But anyways, it was one of those little things that when the hose broke off, we just took it off and never put it back on. But here is the air filter and there's the engine oil idiot light right there on the dash of the 4320. I actually like the dash on the 4320. I like the fact that it had the John Deere in there and the high beam, low beam, which I think they do work. I mean, my generator light comes on, but my oil pressure light does not. I guess I could probably trace that back, but I want to know what the pressure is. So I'm going to go ahead and, I was thinking of just drilling and tapping holes in the dash, but you know what? This tractor's made it this long without holes being drilled into it, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah, so that's where I'm going to put it. It will turn with the, and that's a problem, because if it turns with that damn, if it turns with this, that's going to leave it open to breakage. But this is rubber right here, so maybe I'll figure something out there. I don't know. I just don't, I would sit on this, but we've had severe wind and snow, and this thing's covered with snow even inside the building. It just blew in. But yeah, I'll have to figure something out as to where I'm going to put that thing. I could just epoxy it here someplace, and call it a day, but I don't know. I'll figure something out. I can't have this tractor blowing up again. It just isn't right. So for you guys that are watching my channel and you're like cringing at me putting some Loctite on some insert bearings, that trick has been used since long before you guys were born, I'm sure of. And like some of the older guys that know about the leather trick, that's only used if you are so piss poor that you can't afford to put new inserts in, or a new engine, or you're getting rid of your vehicle. I heard a lot of guys take a piece of leather running around a main bearing, or shoelaces on a rod bearing. Shoelaces, yes, leather shoelaces. Leather lasts a long time when it's oiled. So yeah, you can get a few thousand miles out of it, or a few hundred miles out of it, and then have to do it again. But today's modern engines, you're not going to do that. But like this old 1972 4320, sure, you can get away with that sort of thing. But yeah, phooey on Yui if you think that what I did was stupid. Because it wasn't. It's actually quite an intelligent thing, and this isn't like a main tractor of mine, so go piss up a rope. Oh, and don't forget to suck the other end. Alright, so here's what I've got. I've got my gauge, and let me get my thing where it belongs. I've got my gauge here, and I've mounted it on the little mount that I bought. And I don't like where I have to put this thing, but I'm going to put it there anyway. Years ago we had one on this tractor, and it was mounted right there. So, how do you mount that thing there? Well, it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world, but it ain't the hardest either. What I got to do is cut this metal here down the side to about a third in, and then cut this in a third in. And then what I'll do is I'll put a hose clamp over the top of it and clamp the thing fast. So I'm going to use my Dremel tool here. Hopefully I can get you guys in the right spot. Yeah, that'll work. That cut pretty easy. Okay, there it is. So that was extraordinarily easy. So now, for the most part, yeah, I just got to dig up a long enough hose clamp and stick it on there, and I'll curve that so that it contours the steering post, and it won't take me long, and I'll have this thing where it needs to be. And we'll fire the bad boy up, and we'll go from there. So join me in a... Yeah, I say that word a lot, or two letters, however you want to spell that, but okay seems pretty good to me. I'm going to kind of set you guys up on a thing of oil there, and hopefully you can see me without too much trouble. Yeah, this will all be covered up by a shield or a guard. I'd say a shield, but you know what the funny thing is? I don't think I had. Oh, what did that? Grab that? You son of a bitch. Yeah, they got more than one of them, huh? What is going to be done is going to be covered up by a shield, so it's not really going to be that big of a deal, and it doesn't look so nice. But I have not started this thing up, so I have no idea what my oil pressure is, but I do know there's oil pressure. What I did was, because this pipe here that I'm pointing at is there, I'm not sure how much shit was in it, and if there was anything in it. So I decided it would be a good idea just to, I'm tidying up right now, but I figured it'd be a good idea to start it up and see what came out of there. And I was actually a little bit on the shocked side, because when I did jet it out of there was some ugly looking shit came out. Now, it was frothy, and I don't know if you can see it, but it looked like there were some metal bits in there, which that goes directly from that oil pump. So let's see here. I haven't even finished tightening everything up, so you're experiencing this with me. You don't want to over tighten these things either. I find them to be rather stupid the way they are. And I didn't want to use the plastic pipe. I actually bought copper. But the reason I used the plastic pipe is because of the way it had to be mounted in here. Plastic, I think, can rub a little better and take a little better abuse than the actual copper. Because if the copper's rubbing against something, it won't be long, and it'll be all rubbed through. So I'm gonna start this tractor up. Now, my tachometer does not work. Some of you guys were asking how many hours are on this tractor. Well, it shows 7713, but a hell of a lot more than that. So anyways, here we go. I don't see anything squirting. I don't see any oil pressure either. But I know there's oil pressure there because it shot out of there. Here it comes. Here it comes. Now this is just an idle. And the engine is not cold. And there's my oil pressure. Wow. So where we're looking at is about at 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So we're looking at about 35 pounds at idle. And it drops down like it's supposed to. So, what I've got is about 45 psi on the 40 to 45 psi on the oil pressure. At least that's what this gauge is saying. It is brand new. I have put in the plastic gauge. Now I'm going to check it for leaks, which I'm hoping I don't have. Getting old, man. So, anyways, this is how I've got this hose routed. Now, that oil is not exactly, well, it's not dirty. Now what? I'm just wondering. I wonder if that idiot light will work. You know, sometimes. I was just seeing that well, why won't that thing kick on? Yeah, I got to messing with this wire here. I'm having wiring harness trouble. So anyways, yeah, so 40, 45 pounds. I'm going to track down that wiring harness problem because it did start, now it don't. Let's see. Nope. Alright, so I'm having a little difficulty with a wiring harness. Now, I knew this wiring harness wasn't in very good shape, It's not really any big deal. It's just kind of pissing me off, but it's this wiring harness here. When you turn the key on, you can hear in the injection pump, that injection pump comes on. So everything seems to be working okay now, but it's loose. So as long as it's loose, it ain't right. So we're gonna have to do some figuring on that end. And this here is actually the engine oil sensor. I just put a new bulb in there, and I'm not sure whether the bulb works or not. So I'm really happy that I got that oil line up on there. And I'm not seeing any leaks. I do have another leak here, right there, but that's hydraulic oil. So, and that's kind of a commonplace for that. If this lays full of shit, that'll lay in the rust, it'll lay in the dirt, and then it'll rust. So what I'll do is I'll just knock it off there and I'll just make a new piece from here around. That was the whole idea of splicing that in. It's just a hydraulic return line. So tomorrow, I guess, I'm gonna work on that wiring harness. So yeah, and boy does she sound good, I'll tell you. Here we go. It smokes a bit, and I don't know why. It's got excellent compression, but we had that injection pump done a few years back, and I'm talking 10 or 15. It always smoked a hell of a lot more since then. So I was actually contemplating putting the 4430s, a 4430 turbocharger on that, just to burn that fuel a little more efficiently. But anyways, yeah, there's another half job done. So thanks for watching. If you liked the videos, please comment, rate, and subscribe for more. And of course, don't forget to stop by OneLonelyFarmer.com. You can get yourself some hats, sweatshirts, some coffee mugs, and dark alleys, and other things like that. So, and just a reminder, I'm leaving on the 26th. I will be gone for almost 3 weeks. So you're going to see some really interesting videos if I've got it my way, because I'm going to be uploading as I go. So you're going to see the Philippines and Taiwan, hopefully. All right, thanks.